Adam, again, I want to thank you for making the time to get on the podcast, following your Instagram. I had to get you on the stuff that you, one, accomplish solo hunting, moose in Alaska, hiking them out yourself is an accomplishment in itself. Just some of the stuff that you say, the way you present to yourself, it's like, dude, that is my kind of guy. I got to get him on to chat.
Thanks for having
And
me. I apologize for being late. I was talking to an ammunition manufacturer, so it's hunting related, kind of
nice.
bullets and bullets construction and different things like that. But yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
So I saw a post for you on someone was asking how to hike out solo a moose, and you pointed out that rule number 2, don't be a pussy, is the most important rule.
Yeah, but actually, I got kind of chastised from that. I said it was a solo moose hunt, and I wanted to apologize to absolutely nobody for that because I got chastised from guys in mom's basement eating the hot pockets,
Mm-hmm.
saying that's not a solo moose hunt because I flew in there, I landed, I hunted the moose, I waited all day, I shot him at 510 yards, filmed it myself, walked down there, found him, gutted him, and then went back the next morning, flew in there, cut him up by myself, which is a mountain of work to cut up a 14 to 1,600 pound animal by yourself,
Mm-hmm.
all while you're looking for bears because you're in brown bear infested country. And then got him hung up in the trees all by myself. And then, like, I'm stupid, but I'm not like full on retard all the time, unless you ask my wife. And I flew my brother in law in to help pack them rest the moose out. So I didn't carry it out. And I got a lot of hate from some people. Said, that's not a solo hunt. And I said, okay, forgive me. You know, since you've killed 4 moose with nobody else around, you're definitely qualified to ask. But to answer your question, there's 4 rules. And I just wrote my buddy from the military, and he told me all these. And I really like to stick by them. Number 1, always look cool, no matter what you're doing, right? And if you're shooting 74-inch moose by yourself, like in a super cub, like flew in by yourself, that's pretty badass. Number 2, don't be a pussy. Number 3, always provide 360 security for you and your homies. Like, got to watch your back, you know, whether it's bears, bad people, gangs, whatever. Number 4, any questions, revert to rule number 2. So it gets mentioned twice. Yeah.
I love it because I think that really all those rules, those 4 rules right now, more men need to hear those rules, and those are applicable to anything in anyone's life. Because it's so I'm an archery hunter, and I say look good, shoot good, look good, feel good, shoot good. For
Yeah.
number 1, number 2, don't be a pussy. If you're in the backcountry and you are hunting, and then you get intimidated by the big country, and like you said, that old high school knee injury comes into play, and you got to go back to the truck. That shit just irks me because I've actually experienced someone I was hunting with do that exact same thing. So I guess go for those of who don't know, and I've talked about backcountry hunting a lot. Talk about, I guess, what it takes, like in your mind, to go and do just what you just did.
So I live in Southwest Alaska. There's no roads. I live in a town called King Salmon. It's pretty remote. There's 10,000-foot runway here. It used to be an Air Force base, but there's no roads. So your access is by boat or by airplane. There's a few river systems in here to hunt, and people utilize boats. But I've been a pilot for like 15, 16 years now. I mean, close to half my life. I'm 34. Um, and so you need a pair of wings to like get around and move around Alaska. You can pay for a charter service to have someone just drop you off, like an air taxi, but just drop you off and leave you. I want to be able to call my own shots. And, you know, to me, the freest thing about being an American citizen, which is like literally living the dream. I get it all the time from guys. They say, man, you're living my dream. And I said, nope, I'm living mine, buddy. This is mine.
Mhm.
Is to take your airplane, your skill set, which I have a really high performance airplane. It's super hot rodded. I have a pretty good skill set because I'm always in that airplane, which is how you get good, is by flying it all the time. And I live in some good country with good animals and hunting. And when you got the good weather, you go in there, you rely on yourself, your machine, your tools, and you find a spot to land that's not a runway that no airplane, as far as you know, has ever landed. And you set your airplane down. You hope it doesn't blow super hard. You secure the airplane. You tie it down to the ground. You spend the night because in Alaska you can't fly and then hunt the same day for ethical reasons, Um, and then you wake up and you go hunting and you're all by yourself and you got a 454 Casull on your chest. That hunt, I had a bow in my hand. I shoot that new Hoyt, that RX-8 Ultra. Um, and I threw that thing down so fast when I saw that giant moose. I was just like, dude, this is like the biggest moose, one of the top 5 biggest moose I've ever seen in my life while hunting. And so I went back, grabbed my gun, sorry to Hoyt, and went and hunted that thing. And then it's a patience game. And it's difficult, as you know, hunting by yourself. You don't have anyone to bounce the ideas off of. It's like, what's the moose going to do? How do we call it in? How should we approach? Do you think I'm good with the wind? And you're on your own, which is really difficult, but it's also really great at sometimes because when it's time to make a move, you don't have to sit there and argue and think about anyone else's feelings. You act on instinct and you go into kill mode. And that's what I did. I had to be really patient. I waited all day and I watched that moose for 8 or 9 hours and I called and I called and I called and I kind of slow played him like you would an elk and just kind of built up a frenzy with cow calls and bull calls. And finally I started raking some brush with a canoe paddle that mimics like a bull rake and brush with their testosterone's getting fired up. And I made it sound like there's an orgy going on over here, dude. Like you need to at least come check it out. Right before dark, he came over and then I killed him.
I love it. Uh, can you touch on because I don't think people realize how the difficulty of hiking out an animal, what it takes, mindset. At least for me, when I've done a solo cow elk, had to hike him out only 5 miles, and sometimes going up and over the mountains, or even a mule deer just a mule deer one pack, one trip, 11 and a half miles, I think is the furthest I've done. And it can be an ass kicking. So, and I haven't done a moose. So I want to hear, I guess, where the mindset comes from, just the level of the adversity and what you have to endure to do all that. This episode is sponsored by Black Label Meat. Black Label Meat only sells premium quality meat that is grass-fed, grass-finished, and they do regenerative grazing practices. Check them out now, blacklabelmeatcompany.com, and use the code Jesse for 10% off.
The biggest thing I think is mental toughness. I'm like 255, 260, 6'2", pretty big dude. I'm in the gym a lot, but I'm not like shredded or anything like that. I'm not a CrossFitter with a 6-pack. I've seen some of those guys tap like day 2. A lot of your strength when it comes to hunting, I think, is between the ears, and that's building mental toughness. And you're not really like born with that. I feel like you have to earn that, and you have to earn that through shitty situations, like shitty grinds of a pack by yourself, or, hey, I shot this elk way back here and I'm sleeping not in a sleeping bag tonight. I'm going to build a fire and it's going to suck, but I'm going to stay alive. And you build up your mental toughness through those kind of reps. And I'm stupid, dude. So I've had a lot of reps, right? And this is the fourth. I think this is the fourth moose I've shot by myself. Most people do one. I'm a slow learner though, right? And a mature moose is probably 14 to 1600 pounds. They're similar to a Clydesdale animal. It's no bullshit. I was 3 yards from a mature bull this year, calling them in, and they're 7 feet tall at the hump. So I'm 6'2". I'm looking up to the top of the hump on their back, and then the head's higher, and then the antlers are another 2 feet. So you're 9 feet, maybe closer to 10, looking up at this giant animal. And when they're on the ground, they're equivalent to probably 2 mature 6-point bull elk, like 2 300-inch to 330-inch bull elk, which are huge. And that's a mountain of work for a guy. And it's just difficult to maneuver him. I had to get him gutted that night and dump the guts because it was dark. And I gutted him till probably, I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and then covered in moose blood and guts, hiked back to the camp in the dark. But just positioning the leg up, with your pack frame, with some parachute cord. And then when you get back and you cut him up, you're doing the gutless method and you're peeling the hide off. But a rear quarter of a moose is 100 to 120. The biggest I've seen is like 136. They get up to 145, 150, but that's really rare. But to get a 136-pound chunk of meat off the animal to keep it out of the dirt and the hair and the blood and the guts, and put a game bag on it, throw it over your shoulder, take it over the trees and hang it up, That is very difficult. And you got 4 quarters, and then you got the ribs. They come out on the bones. We like to eat the ribs a lot. That's probably 80 pounds there. Each side of the neck of a moose, you have to take all the neck meat, and each side of the neck's probably 70 pounds. Backstrap tenderloins, that's probably another 80 pounds. You got the brisket. I mean, if it's bigger than your thumb, you're pretty much taking it on the moose. And so, finished weight of meat coming out of there is probably, I think, 800 pounds, and the antlers and just a Euro skull with all the flesh off them is about another 100. So, you're about 900 pounds coming out of there, and you're carrying it out on your legs, usually to an airstrip. But I like to hunt places that I've been preseason scouting, and I've landed 50 different spots. And so when I go in moose hunting and I see a moose over there, it's not like, oh, we have to stay within X number of miles. Like 1 mile from the airstrip is usually the sanity that people try and grasp. And I'll see a moose 4 miles over there. I'll run down there, I'll shoot it because I know I've already landed here, here, and here, and I got it all marked on Onyx, and I can just pick the moose up from that point. So then I'll carry the moose quarters to that point, and then I'll fly them home.
And about what's the average length of having to carry the moose quarters?
The furthest I've did is like 1.25 miles. The one this year is just over a half mile, about 400 feet elevation gain. But hiking, I'd say average is probably a half mile. It's not bad. So you're talking 20 minutes of pain, right? So you got 20 minutes of pain. You got trekking poles. You got a pistol on your chest. You're not carrying a rifle because you need the stability of the trekking poles. Hiking Alaska is really difficult. There's a lot of soft tundra. You're crossing beaver dams. It's swampy. It's wet. Sometimes you're in chest waders. It's just difficult to carry yourself, let alone all that extra weight bogging you down. And you just have to treat it like a marathon, and just you go slow, and you don't want to injure yourself or rush it.
So, for what's a tactic that you use for the mental strength of going through that whole process? I'll share mine, but I'm curious of what yours is first.
You walk up to the thing and you just go, fuck me. This is stupid, right? And like, that's just the first thing I say. I'm just like, you are so freaking stupid, dude. Like, what are you thinking? The one I shot this year was a giant moose. He was 74 inches wide, scored 255 Boone and Crockett gross. I mean, by far the biggest moose I've ever shot. Um, and I just treat it like long division. Like, no one's going to do it for you. You did this. It's illegal if you walk away. You're a piece of shit if you just waste any of this. And you took the life of the animal. You need to get the hide off. You need to get it hung up. And my kids and I and my wife, we eat 2 to 2.5 moose every year. I need to get this shit home, cut it up, put it in the freezer because I have kids that need to eat. Um, and there's no other way than to just pull out the knife and you start cutting. You can't sit there and think about the what ifs or what am I going to do. And that's where people get in the mental spiral downward of like, I heard a lot of like wanton waste charges of guys getting violations this year because they would just shoot a moose. They do 1 quarter. Like, I just can't do anything else. And I'm like, if you got a pulse, you better get your ass out there and keep packing it out. Alaska is extremely strict with that, and extremely strict on the ruling that you have to bring the antlers out last. And so those antlers don't move. I cut
Yeah.
them off the carcass. I leave them there, and you just start cutting, dude. No one's going to do it for you. You did this. You pulled the trigger as the trigger man, and now you are fully responsible. And you start sending out the Garmin inReach messages. And this year, like, nobody was come help me. Like, literally, I flew a brother up from Idaho to come help me. He was planning to come moose hunt, but he just came earlier instead. But like, you want to see who your friends are and how many excuses people can make up. It's like, oh, my sister's cousin's cat has a kidney transplant, and I'm not able to make it. And I'm looking for a guy who is able to pack, who's able to fly, and who can come on Tuesday, right? So my window is very small of what kind of person I'm looking for. And I got a couple really good buddies, but sometimes they're hunting. And my wife's at home with 6 or 7 kids, so she's not helping. So this year I really thought I was all on my own. And I'm just like, I said out loud, I'm like, well, dude, it's high time it was going to happen. And I embraced it, right?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's fucking awesome, and it gets me excited because my dream hunt is an Alaskan bull moose. So I just get kind of giddy just even thinking about it. One other thing I wanted to talk about that I noticed on your your Instagram page, you have something very similar that I have on my LinkedIn. In LinkedIn, people are supposed to be professional, right? So I
Yes.
have there's a two part to this. On my LinkedIn, I have my pronouns: handsome, genius. And I noticed on your Instagram, you have some really good pronouns as well. What are those again?
I think it says kill/wolves, doesn't it?
No, no, yours is it's Dick Bone King.
Oh yeah, that's right. I changed it. Yeah, I've kind of got a nickname as the Dickbone King.
Yeah, I and when I saw that, I was like, oh man, his is right up there with my handsome genius pronouns. And I made a video that got some hate on how I have no respect for men who use pronouns he, him. And this isn't towards any women, but men, because I feel like men who are trying to put out their pronouns of he, him, it's like, no shit, stupid. Um, you're actually part of this societal problem of not acknowledging basic biology. Um, and so if we get to just if everything's subjective, I mean, the reality is I am a handsome genius, but someone might disagree. So I put up the handsome genius. I'm just curious of what if you were just having fun or what your thoughts were on men and taking pronouns serious with the he hims,
I think
if
anyone.
that's something you're willing to touch on.
Oh yeah, I mean I don't want to offend anyone with political correctness. I think anyone who uses pronouns is a fucking retard. Um, like my 7-year-old knows that she has a vagina and she is a girl, and
Yeah.
boys have a wiener, and that's why they are boys. She just trapped a
Hmm.
squirrel in our backyard. And ironically, she trapped a second one. And I said, "Where is it?" She's like, "I don't know. I lost it." Ended up finding it in her school locker, right? Took a squirrel, a full squirrel, like with the hide and guts in it. Took it to school for like show and tell. Forgot about it. Left her in the locker. And I said, "You need to get that home and like skin it because it's going to rot." And we're doing biology. We're skinning this out. I'm like, "Is this a boy
Yeah.
or a girl? Is it going to have babies inside or, And like, that's common sense. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
that's just like me saying the shirt you're wearing isn't red. The
Yeah.
shirt I
Yeah.
have is black, but I'm going to say today it's blue. Like, it is crazy. So I use the pronouns to make fun of those people because it's just insane to me, right? And
Hmm.
I use it as a pun to make fun of those people and also market selling dick bones.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the whole handsome genius thing. I mean, I love it. I've had that thing, I think, for 2 years on up on there. Handsome genius.
Yeah.
Uh,
Now your wife
I
calls you that. So
oh yeah, exactly.
100%.
So
Manifestation, right?
yeah, and then even the biology. So like we raise rabbits to feed my dogs. My dog eats rabbits, and then we whack them. And my sons, they will check, are these ones boys or girls? Because we get rid of all the boys first. Their food real quick because we'll keep some of the girls to breed with a different buck. And so they understand the concept. Just take the rabbit, flip their skirt, boy, girl. Basic things that has been going on forever. Um, and it's just so sad that here in America, like I believe people are free to do whatever it is that they choose, but there are definitely lines of, hey, the basic biology has been basic biology since the beginning of time. So you mentioned your father.
Yeah, to touch on that, I think it's really simple. But yeah, before you get into fatherhood, I don't care what your pronouns are. If we're at the airport and you look like me and you go into the girls' bathroom and my little girl's in there, I'm gonna fucking choke slam you before you even get to the door. So yeah, I stand outside the bathroom when my little 7-year-old goes in there because it's my job as a dad to go to prison for her and protect her. And she knows that. She knows
Yeah,
daddy is the alpha and he will end anything that tries to put his hands or hurt her in any way possible. And I tell her that every day. That's my job. That's why God put me here is to protect you and provide for you. And I will do that.
100%, 100%. Yeah,
Got a
I
little
have
hot there.
sons.
Sorry. I'm
No,
good.
no, you're good because I think it's important, and I think there's other men who may feel similar things, but they just don't have that gumption to actually talk about it or actually physically uh, present themselves in those ways So when men hear that there's other men in an alignment, they can, you could say, come out and stand up for what's right. I I only have sons. I don't have daughters to protect, but one day I'll have daughter-in-laws to protect, and I teach my sons that they need to be sticking up for what's right and what's wrong. I don't care that my oldest son's only 7. I continuously ingrain in him that he sticks up for what's right and what's wrong,
Yeah.
regardless. It's of the situation that he should be able to stick up for those amongst his peers.
Yeah, that's how I was raised. I'm trying to raise my kids that way. And we talked a little about foster care. I'm not trying to put the cart in front of the horse, but it's funny how you say I'm not going to have daughters because I thought I was going to adopt all these boys through foster care. I have one boy that's adopted and 4 girls. So, yeah, you never
Nice,
know.
4 girls. Yeah, yeah. Oh no, I because yeah, we were talking before we hit record. I have 2 boys now. We want to adopt more boys, but there could be a sibling group out there, and just some girl who just steals our heart, the heart of mine and my wife's, and it's like, oh, we thought we were never having.
It's not your wife, dude.
Yeah.
They have this tantric potion about them that I don't know if tantric's the right word, but it's a special potion about them that just wraps you around their little pinky finger. And when they
Hmm.
cuddle you on the couch the first time they say, I love you, daddy, day 3, you're fucking done. There is nothing
Yeah.
your heart can do to undo that. And you're sunk. Like they taken their hooks and they've put them into you and it ain't coming out. So be warned.
Oh,
Be
I had
warned.
two. I had 2 sisters, and just the love that was between my sisters and my dad. I get it, because he was that father who definitely was someone who I looked up to. And he was my stepdad, but it didn't matter. He was my dad. And the way he was with my sisters was, he could just be the scariest motherfucker there was. And then in an instant with my sisters, be the most loving and gentle human being, which is something I always admired.
Also, for if you don't edit this, which I don't expect you to do, if anyone actually thinks I'm like some pedophile, I'm not. I just looked up tantric, and that's a sex term. I didn't mean that, so I am fully retarded. I told you. So I did not mean that about my little kid. I'm just meaning they have a special potion that takes over you,
Hmm.
and like there's nothing you can do. But I didn't mean sexual terminology from tantric, so not into all that.
Yeah, no worries at all. All right, so being in Alaska, you are a true bush pilot, correct? And
Yes.
hunter. Talk about how your experience being a hunter, bush pilot, just the way you carry yourself, how that positively impacts the family, being a father, husband.
I think it just shows a lot of confidence. I mean, I don't
Hmm.
fly with a wingman or anything like that. There's no person I call Goose. We live in a small town, not a lot of people, not a lot of pilots. Um, and so I'm out there doing stuff on my own. I'm very motivated to be a doer, and I think they see that. And they see the meat and stuff we bring home. My kids are well immersed into skinning beavers, rabbits, wolves, foxes, cutting up moose and caribou. We do a lot of subsistence fish netting with a gill net in the summer to put up a lot of fish because we eat a lot of protein and stuff and catch, and we're pretty self reliant. Um, and then the flying aspect really merges well with the hunting aspect because it allows you the access to get out there. And then the hunting also complements the flying because you've been on the ground, not just a pilot, but you've been hiking around, trapping, picking up moose sheds, hunting, packing out animals. You see and you walk through different types of terrains. You know what this color of lichen feels like, and you know this type of green is really soft and wet, and no, that's swampy over there. So next time you fly over something like that, you can evaluate it from inside the cockpit saying, hey, is this a suitable place to land, or is it a maybe, or is it, yeah, it's probably pretty good. And so both those things complement each other. But I think it just shows confidence and self-reliance to my kids. They're not super all about it. Like if I was a kid, man, growing up bouncing around the back of a super cub would just be amazing, right? And they're just like, God, I'm like, do you guys want to go like trap beavers today or go to the pool? There's a pool party. And most times they just want to go to the pool. And I don't get it, right? And it's hard, and it's still hard to grasp because me and you, I mean, I got guys that want to pay me tons of money to go and do the stuff I do. And my kid's like, I just want to go to the pool. I'm like, the pool is like, I'm an anti-video game person, and like the pool's like video games or golf. It's always going to be there. You don't know what we're going to see when we go out there. We could see nothing. We could see the most amazing thing. You could find a woolly mammoth tusk, or something like that. You could just experience something once in a lifetime that no one else gets to. But the pool is just going to be the pool. It's going to be the same thing as before. I don't know how to teach that to my kids, though. I'm trying to get them to live outside the box and be a little more open-minded, but that's something I struggle with. That being said, they just had to go to the orthodontist. The weather was good the last few days. Took off from here, flew 4 hours to Anchorage with a load full of kids in the airplane, got the orthodontist appointment, got a bunch of groceries because it's pretty much a felony to not get a ton of groceries and come back because food's so expensive where we live, and then came back the next day. So that's their normal life. Going to the orthodontist is in a super cub.
That is so cool. Yeah, I'm not a video game person either. My sons have actually never played video games. I don't let them watch TV. I was raised with my ass outside and don't come back in until it's dark. So I've just been implementing the same thing with my kids. Um, Man, the Alaskan life to me, I'm sure it's fucking. There's all this shit that's hard about it that I have no idea. But to me, that sounds like the way that I would want to raise boys and have them help it allow them to become men, doing things that other people don't experience, doing things that someone might consider dangerous. The traveling in the plane thing, I know my sons would be all about that one.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, they are obsessed with planes and helicopters, and they've done some helicopter rides on their birthdays, but they're all about that part.
Yeah, when the weather's good, it's phenomenal. When the weather sucks, it's really nasty. But yeah, they like it, but I think maybe they just take it for granted because they came into this house as foster kids, and it's just like, yeah, these white people own an airplane, and that's just part of our life, and it's really essential to us to get out and experience the things where we do and keep your sanity. If you can't leave a little village, we don't drink, and so it's like, what do you do with your time?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to do things and experience life and all the resources around here and stuff. So it's a pretty vital part of what we do. And I've been a professional pilot for like 13 years too. So I've flown commercially a lot as a career.
And with being a hunter pilot and all that, how would you, and then 7 kids, 6 kids?
I mean, it depends on foster care. The majority of our children we've got, my wife just says, usually when I get back into service from flying or hunting, she's like, hey, by the way, we got another kid coming. So it's like your wife saying, hey, I picked up a few more rabbits, but I love her to death. She's super Christ-like and a great person. She just can't say no. Like putting the N and the O together to
Mm-hmm.
say that across the phone, it's not really in her vocabulary. And so when I get
Yeah.
out of service, I'm like, well, that's cool, but these aren't bunnies. These are humans. We can't just take them to the pound when we're done or say, oh, these are males. We got to go slaughter them. She's really good about that. So it varies. Right now, I currently have 6. It might be 7. I haven't talked to her in about an hour, but never know.
All right. So the next thing I want to get your insights on are with the hunting, the 6 to who knows how many more kids on any given day. What is the dynamic between yourself and the missus as far as keeping your guys's um, you focus on your guys' relationship just as husband and wife, etc. How do you do the time management with around all that?
Well, we just hit like we're almost to 10 years in marriage, and I think like statistically 7 to 10 years is when a lot of people get divorced, and we don't even throw that word up as a joking matter. It's just not part of our vernacular here. But marriage has been difficult over the last couple of years, and we've kind of gotten back in that thing of like back to the basics. Like you have to date your wife, and so
Yes.
as soon as we're done, I'm going to check the weather. I got to throw a new tachometer in my Super Cub because one went out yesterday. Um, Shows the RPMs and stuff. And I'm going to take her, and she's going to take the baby on her lap, and we're going to go trap beavers. Fly around. You look for beaver dams. You look for a beaver dam with a lot of sticks around it, which they've gathered all summer for a feed pile, because once it's winter, they're not very mobile and they need a feed pile to eat because they eat sticks and wood, and it keeps their teeth down, and they also process and digest the wood. And you go and trap those places at different avenues of the pond, the beaver dam, near the feed piles, runs, and channels. So we do cool shit in the Super Cup, and that's how we connect. Her love languages, like experience and time with me, quality time. And so I show her that, and we date each other. And you got to bring a baby because all the other kids at school will pick them up, bring them home. They're pretty self sufficient because they're 7 to 16, and they can kind of fend for themselves, make spaghetti for dinner, watch a movie, and go to bed by 9 or something like that. And we'll be home by dark and have some beaver traps out. Let them sit for a couple days and go pick them up. And then we'll incorporate that stuff. I might go check in with the wife, or I might bring a kid this time, because that's the fun part, is checking the trap, just like your kids going to the backyard and checking their mouse traps. It's the exciting part of the anticipation of what is there. It's not the swimming pool. It's we could get skunked. We could have a bunch of beaver. And then you bring that beaver home, and then we're going to skin the beaver. We're going to put it on pieces of plywood. We're going to flesh it out, and we're going to prep the beaver. I'll send it to a tannery, and then my kids are able to sew it into fur hats and gloves, sell that stuff, and then we use that beaver meat to that's what I use for trapping wolverines. Like, this may come as a surprise, but literally everything out there loves to eat a beaver. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm part of a ranch, and we get beavers, and the dogs are always trying to go and eat the beavers on the ranch.
Some people say it tastes good. It's like a really rich, sweet kind of meat, but I don't know. I just know when it's -30 out, it still has a really strong odor. And wolverines, lynx, and everything like that, they really
Hmm.
like the smell of it. It's really greasy and oily. And when you fly around the winter on skis, you can see everything is on a frozen lake, and everything from wolves, rabbits, fox, coyotes, wolverine, they all go up to a beaver house just to investigate. They're
Yeah,
just interested in it. So it's cool. You can utilize the whole thing from a ethical standpoint, but then my kids get to be immersed into it, and my wife and I get to go and spend some quality time in the outdoors and take the baby and stuff like that. So that airplane is really essential because so many things down the line you get to do after you have that access, and you can't pay for that access. You have to buy an airplane, learn to fly it, and then earn it.
yeah. So the dating, I think that it's so important, especially like you said, getting onto year 10. Too many couples often fail to continue to date one another. Their lives revolve around their children and or their work, and then when the kids leave the nest, they often don't know each other anymore. They may think they still love each other but don't know each other. So the dating is, I think, just so important. Like you said, you guys got back into the habit of dating. Does it sound like you guys took a couple years off from dating each other just due
You
to
don't
life?
you don't mean to, but it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
kids are hard. We had 7 kids at one time.
Hmm.
And when you're in foster care, it's like you're always wondering, if these kids aren't adopted, are they going to get taken any day? So you're living in this high stress environment. Wife runs multiple businesses. I'm a commercial pilot. I run a couple different things as an entrepreneur. So, like, we literally are coming by each other and passing a little bit here and there,
Hmm.
and you're not taking those little moments to like really grasp your marriage. And so you end up being a fucking roommate to your spouse, and it's awful. And I just tell her, like, hey, I hate the roommate mentality. Like, this sucks, right?
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
didn't marry a dime piece redhead to have as a roommate. So I'm like, when I walk by, like, hey, show me your tits or something, like literally. Like, we've incorporated that, and like,
Mm.
and I've incorporated more of like the date night once a week, and it may vary, and sometimes we may miss it,
Hmm.
but for us, it's not going out to dinner. Our restaurants are expensive. I can cook better food at home for cheaper, and my
Yeah.
wife's simple. She just wants a moose steak and a baked potato. But for her, like me, letting her work and doing the dishes and helping with the kids and stuff, that's serving her and different things like that. And then quality time, it's like, hey, do you want to go sight in your bow after dinner? Do you want me to build you a sauna? We have a sauna in our backyard, and we can go like decompress in the sauna, and you can tell me all about your bullshit, which I don't want to hear all about your bullshit. I'm sure you get home from work and your wife tries to offload on you, but as a good husband, even though we don't care, you have to let them do their thing, and you have to give them more than just like or don't just be giving your thumb a workout on Instagram. You actually have to like be engaged, and they're into that kind of stuff, and you have to have
Hmm.
check yourself as a spouse. Like, are you being a good husband? Are you the guy that your little girl should be marrying? Because that's what you really have to show. you know?
100%. That if a representation of what your daughter's gonna marry, or if in our sons, we're the representation of who our son is gonna become in his marriage. Statistically, our children will have the exact same marriage as their parents.
Yeah.
So,
Which mine's not great. It's pretty good. We're friends. My problem is I pretty much married a dude. She's not like a chick, and so there's not like um, she's very like straight and to the point and direct. And maybe I'm used to a little bit more of like old school and stuff like that. So we sorry, let me close this. I opened it because it's hot. There's too many airplanes flying around. There's too many times where it's just like she's in business mode and stuff like that, and I have to kind of like remind her like, hey, we're not roommates. Like we're husband and wife, and we have kids. But if we crumble, the whole thing crumbles. Like we're
mhm.
number one. Work's not number one. The kids aren't number one. The sauna's not number one. Your workout at the gym is not number one. It's me, and you're it for me. And we have to reprioritize that. So we've done a lot of soul searching over the last 6 months for that kind of stuff. Marriage is just hard, dude. You got to find some person and live with them. Like I wouldn't want to spend 10 years as a roommate to you. You know, some of my buddies, I can barely make it 10 days in the same tent. So it's like difficult finding a person, and then you're dealing with kids and life and money and sex and just all the normal fights people go over. It's hard, you know.
It is. My wife and I, we've been together 13 years, and there has been times where it's like, fuck, I got to look myself in the mirror, fucking humble myself, and it's like I'm sure majority of our problems have some sort of thing to do with me, whether it's my reaction to her, whether it's whatever it is. But as the leader of the household, it's like I can be the greatest impact to change those things. Whether it is sitting down, having a conversation with her, being honest, hey, we got to focus on us. You mentioned putting you guys first. I go as far as I let my sons know I love your mom more than I love you guys. You guys might not understand this now, but you'll appreciate it later. That of how much I love your mom. And sometimes like, oh, mom's favorite, your favorite, and it's like, fuck yeah, she's my favorite. And
Get
it's
it
not,
later.
yeah, it's like they'll get it later, and I do not mind telling them now that that's the way it is. I do not mind telling them like, no, 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 this weekend is a mom and dad weekend. You're going to grandma's. You know,
That'd be nice. Yeah, I wish I had
they're
that. Yeah.
yeah, but it's or we'll do walks in the morning, and it's like, hey, my youngest is 3.5, and it's like, hey guys, we're not going to be home in the morning when you guys wake up. Fix yourself breakfast, take it, put on your day clothes, brush your teeth before we get back. Now, if they haven't woken up, doesn't matter.
Yep.
But we're not going to be home in the morning. And we've repeated that so many times because people might be like, "Oh my gosh, 7 and 3, and you guys just leave them home." And it's like, yeah, I do, because we've one empowered them to a certain extent of giving them responsibilities really young, making eggs really young, making banana pancakes really young. Yeah, it's annoying and it's messy, but that compounding over time allows those two to make breakfast in the morning while we're on our walks, just holding hands, talking. She's telling me all about the stress that's going on with her mom right now because her dad just died 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, like you said, I just sit there and listen. It's like, do you want me to solve the problem or just listen?
Story of my
It's
life,
like,
brother. Story of my life.
just listening.
And that's a problem guys get into because I'm a fixer. You know,
Mhm.
you got a problem,
Yeah.
you fix it. When I talk to my buddies, hey, this is going on, let's fix it. Airplane's broken, let's
Mhm.
fix it. There's a lot of times you have to ask your spouse, and people should really cue in on this part. Do you want me to listen, or do you want me to help you try and fix it? And I've gotten
Yeah.
ass chewing, and I've lost a lot of nights of sex because I'm trying to fix the problem instead of just don't be an asshole. Just listen to my problem about my friend.
Hmm.
Okay. You know, one thing I struggle with, dude, since we're real and I don't hold any punches, I struggle from a lot of quote unquote daddy issues. I can say that, my wife can't. It's kind of a trigger. And so I got in some therapy earlier. I'm not in it now. But just trying to like better myself, and just like, I don't know. My dad was just really, I guess, verbally abusive or whatever. Beat my ass pretty hard a few times or whatever. But like, I get, like, here's a good example. Like, my wife wanted me to make these zucchini boats for her last night. So you cut zucchini in half and you're scraping the zucchini out, and she's kind of on me like, don't scrape out that much, this and that. And I'm like, I'm a really good cook. Like, um, I do pretty well. I'm a better chef than she is. And she's like tuning me up about this. And I keep getting offended, this and that. And finally, she hands me the Parmesan cheese, and I put too much on there. And she's like, not that much. And I'm just like, dude, get the fuck out of the kitchen. Like, you're in my space. I'm going to pull the Gordon Ramsay. I'm the executive chef. Get out. Get out. I will make the food. Don't need to
Mhm.
do that. Kind of pissed her off. And I was kind of a dick, right? And so then I'm sitting here in this self righteous stage, and I have this note in my phone. And this has really helped me, but it's hard to, hard not to let Satan take over. And just, you want to be pissed off, you want to be a man, you want to be offended. But I think a lot of it from like me, and a lot of personal issues in everyone, is from their childhood trauma. No one has a perfect childhood.
Mhm.
There's a varying level of difference from the ACEs scale, and you can test how traumatic your childhood was. But I wrote these questions down. I said, are you mad? Are you sad? Are you offended? Are you hurt? And I answer those. And then I say, why? And I said, did she mean to hurt you on purpose? And this is a really good one for me, because my wife is not a malicious person. She's not just a downright bitch, dude. She truly loves me, wants the best for us, wants us to be on the same rocket ship. This next one hits home. Will this truly matter tomorrow? Will the fucking Parmesan cheese matter tomorrow, dude? Like,
Mhm.
are you even going to remember? I'm remembering it now for this thing, but like, no,
Yeah.
the Parmesan cheese thing isn't going to remember. So I should have just let that one go. Will you remember this event? No. Are you being too critical of her? Usually a yes. This one, are you being a pussy? Probably, right? Because I'm sitting here and I'm taking
Yeah.
offense to it. And I love the quote, like, we can choose to be offended. Like, 90% of the world is how we react. It's only 10% of what happens to us. How we react to these situations and different things like that shapes us and molds us. And then it says, walk off and drop it. Be a man. Don't be a 13-year-old. She doesn't want that fat little 13-year-old who's crying out for affection or dad's love or dad's approval, because as boys, we're always seeking dad's approval. And I don't feel like I ever got that, right? So I'm seeking out through her. And I write my notes down there in that, and I have to reference that. I'm not very good at doing it. And sometimes she's like, go read your fucking notes, right? But like, that's real talk in marriage. Like, that, there's
Mhm.
probably some dudes that are going to listen to this that struggle with those exact same things, and their wife offends them, and you can choose to not be offended and ruin the rest of the night and possibly the next morning. So, ta-da.
Oh, and like you said, men need to hear those things. One, that they're not the only person, but two, maybe someone doesn't think about the Parmesan cheese doesn't matter tomorrow
And it's
at
not you
all.
being a simp, dude. It's not you being a pussy. It's like, you have to treat this girl with dignity, love, and respect, right?
Hmm.
That's not how you want That's not how you want your son treating his future wife, or your future daughter being treated by some jackass or whatever. You'd want them to be able to talk about things, communicate, and say, hey, I felt that was kind of disrespectful, rather than taking offense and saying, get the fuck out of my kitchen, right? And
Hmm.
so we have to work on that as grown-ups. And you can't just sit here and act like a fucking man-child. Like, literally, that's what my therapist had told me. You can't be a 13-year-old man-child. She doesn't want that. She doesn't want to have sex with a 13-year-old man-child. She wants a
Hmm.
man. You're the head of the household. You have to lead the household and lead by example. And so I'm trying to really harness that stuff. Easier said than done by far, dude. But um, I'm really realistic. I'm willing to talk about the stuff that hurts, because I feel like I listen to podcasts to learn things. And I hope people
Same.
learn things from me rather than just wasting time, you know?
Hmm. So I went through a phase. So I guess when we talk about our upbringing, so it's very Freudian that the traumas determine who we are, and I like an Alfred Allred, no, Allard, sorry, Alfred Allard, who he was more of our choices determine who we are versus our environment determines who we are. But me, so I had a dad commit suicide. I had a mom remarry, great dude, fucking awesome. But my mom was super protective of him over me. So it did so much so to where it didn't allow my dad to actually groom me probably into a man the way maybe he would have wanted, even though he didn't even have a father figure in his life
Yeah.
because he grew up in subsidized housing. His mom left their household at when he was a kid and just said, "Don't get me in trouble." Him and his three other siblings, and they just didn't see their mom again
Wow.
until like way later in life. But so he grew up with no zero father figure. He remembers one time ever seeing his dad, and it's when he came to show him a new truck, and he was like, in hindsight, "Why the fuck are you showing me this new truck? I haven't seen you, and you don't pay for anything. We're fucking the poorest people
Yeah.
around." Blah blah blah. But my mom, because my dad had killed himself, my mom was very protective of me. So it allowed me to grow up to not even understand the concept of what it was to be a masculine man. And then you get into a serious relationship, and then I'm just like always trying to win the argument versus my wife, turn things on her, etc. Just of how I would look back, just total bitch moves that I was always doing. And then I had to really kind of figure out like what does it truly look like to lead, because not only to provide, because many men provide a paycheck, but do they actually like, are they leading the household? Are they demonstrating what it is that they want their kids to grow up to be? Just
100%.
all those things. And so I had to go through a lot of kind of understanding of how I should react to my wife when she's doing something. Kind of like what you're saying, the Parmesan cheese isn't going to matter tomorrow. And I started kind of getting similar concepts going in my mind, and even conversations that I would have with her when she would try and pick a fight of things that would trigger her because she didn't want to. She always looked at her parents' relationship and didn't want her parents' relationship.
Yep.
Her parents' relationship was very triggering to her versus I thought my parents' relationship was awesome. My stepdad and my mom, I was like, man, look at them. My friends want to always come over and they love my parents. I love my parents. We still have a great relationship with my parents, etc. And if there would be a little thing that I would do, she would get pissed because it would remind her of her parents' relationship. And I would have to sometimes bring it back. Well, do you think I'm him? Do you think that I think of you this way, or is this so important that we need to fight about it, or tomorrow is it not going to matter? And then this whole thing has allowed us both to grow a lot together, and that we are both humble enough to realize that we have things to work on continuously, and we're doing those together. And then being a family of faith has definitely been helpful as well.
Yeah. If you don't have God behind you, we're LDS. I swear like a sailor, but we're
Mm-hmm.
LDS or Mormon. And we have pretty big faith in that. It's hard to stay connected to the church because we're so remote, but we have a call in church phone line and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, faith is a huge part. I know a lot of people who have great marriages who aren't based in faith and vice versa. But yeah, dude, it's hard. It's hard. I struggle because I don't talk to my folks anymore. My dad, um, I mean, the way I've been acting is a result of how I saw to act. You act
Mm-hmm.
like a man child and you freak out. Guys don't cry, they scream and yell. And that's how you get your way because you're a scared little boy inside. And I never got from my dad like, hey, I'm proud of you. And I never got, even till I was 23, 24, 25, we got to be best friends, you know. And I don't know if you're friends with
Mm-hmm.
your stepdad, but that's how I see it. I see some of my buddies and their main hunting partners, their dad. I'm like, man,
Their dad.
that would be so cool. My
Mm-hmm.
dad never allowed us to be friends. He always just was the dad, and he was always just on my ass. It was never good enough, never proud enough. And you're always seeking dad's approval. And weirdly enough, I'm like seeking my wife's approval for daddy issues and stuff. And I've kind of learned that in therapy. And that's difficult, but we don't have a good relationship anymore. And so I'm trying to, my main focus, kind of like your wife's, is to not be in the position where my kids won't talk to me anymore. And it's not on
Mm-hmm.
me. I tried to do everything I have, and I can sleep with a full conscience when I go to their funeral. Like, I did everything I can do and tried to keep a relationship with them. But some people are just really stubborn, hard headed. And my dad, plain and simple, is like a narcissist. He won't admit he's wrong. He won't admit he's faulted. It's all me. And you need to come and apologize and grovel at my feet and beg, scream, and cry. And then maybe I'll feel good. His words, not mine. He told me that one time, and that was really hard to hear because I said like, "You need to be heavily medicated, you psycho fuck," right? And I have some of that DNA, unfortunately, and I've told my wife that, and that's a struggle for her because she's not an instigator of our problems. She's more of a reactionary force, but she's tough and she's stubborn and she's a redhead, and go figure, sticks up for herself. And that I like generate a lot of issues in our marriage and stuff like that from this man-child behavior that I'm trying to grasp in different things. One thing we've really learned though, dude, and it was I think it was a reel on Instagram I sent my wife, and like she expects me to watch all her stupid reels, and I don't. And I expect her to watch mine because they're important. She doesn't. Mine are crude humor. Hers are things of faith or a recipe for fucking zucchini, right? And trigger that's going to trigger me about the cheese. But it was one where like you grab your partner's hand, and we have like a non-negotiable. Like this is on our temple covenants in the marriage. More important than our kids. Like I made her freaking pinky swear, and I will snap your pinky off. That when I say it's time or you say it's time, you grab your partner's hand, you lay down on the floor, not the good kind of laying down on the floor, but you literally lay down on your stomach. Your eyes are like 12 inches apart or closer, and your hands are crisscrossed, or your chin is in your hands, kind of sitting there like a freaking cheerleader pose. And you are staring at each other's eyes, but you are laying on the ground. So there's no dominating feature where you're sitting there scolding someone, they're sitting on the ground. You're literally bellies on the ground, you're 12 inches away from them, and it really de-escalates all the bullshit. And we've done it like 3 times this last week, right? Because even though we're super similar and we're very smart, good people to each other, and we're bonded in faith and yoked together, like we still have issues. And one of us, well, she did it to me this morning. She says, "Get over here, get on the ground." And I'm like, "I don't want to, dude." But I have made that promise and I have made that covenant to God and stuff that I'm going to be here for her no matter what. And this is important to her, even though she's in the wrong and she treated me like shit and she wouldn't even give me a kiss on the cheek last night. Real life talk, because she goes to bed all pissed off. And I don't like to go to bed pissed off. Get on the ground, look at your spouse 6 inches to 12 inches in front of your face, and it'd be remarkable how that really de-escalates a fight. You can't fight. It's hard. If you and I were trying to kill each other, would we lay on our stomachs and fight each other? Yeah.
Oh, my fucking mic was on
There you go.
mute.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we would not be laying on the ground trying to kill each other.
It just
Yeah.
de-escalates everything.
See, I've actually done something similar with my son where we'll lay on our backs and just look and talk to de-escalate him. I had to do that a couple times. But my wife, when she's in a full rage, I just grab her and just hug the shit out of her because she's so small and I'm way stronger. And she'll try and fight it for a second, and then she just gives in, and then it's over.
Fine, she'll
She
castrate you. She needs space, and she's like, "Let me go, or I'll bite your sack off."
Yeah, my wife is it's so funny because she will tell me that she doesn't want to fucking talk to me. She wants to be alone. And then I'm like, I'm the kind of guy who's like, "Oh, cool. No problem." In the beginning of the relationship, you take your time. I'll go to my office, go do something. She'll come out. And I'm like, I'm over it. Like that. I'm pretty easygoing. And she's just raging that I didn't come and talk to her about it. It's like, but you wanted me to leave you alone and not to talk to you. And she would say, "We've been together this many years. You know that I want you to come and talk to me. It doesn't matter what I say, it's what I want you to do." And so it got to the point where
Read my
she'll,
mind.
yes, read my mind, not don't listen to my words, read my mind. And so it's just to the point where she'll be in a full rage and I just go and bear hug the shit out of her until she's calm and
Especially if you
calm.
pick them up because you're taller than your wife, and you pick them up, and it's like,
I am, yeah, I'm, I'm fairly strong. I compete in strongman competitions,
mm-hmm.
and my wife's not a very big human, and so I can just easily just pick her up, do the over the shoulder, whatever I need, and she just eventually just melts and then is just so much calmer. That's just like our little thing. I
Yeah.
wouldn't recommend everybody does that because, like you said, she'll go there right for the nut job and rip them right off.
Yeah, my wife
Um,
needs space, and I'm the other way. I'm like, I want to resolve this now. I want a hug, and she's like, no, leave me alone. Eventually, you come back together, but that's hard. You have to
mhm.
be able to put your feelings aside and kind of be less selfish and understanding what the other person needs. And that's taken a long time, and it's still difficult to do. We're a lot better about it. She'll come back to me sooner, but I have to let her leave.
Yeah, and again, I believe us as men, we have to take responsibility and just be humble enough, and we have to try to resolve situations because, like early in our relationship, I was always trying to get her. I was trying to win. I would turn it around. I would use her words against her. You
Yeah.
could say I was like attorneying her, being lawyering her,
My wife
and
says gaslighting. I'm still not sure if that's the term, but I get called a gaslighter or a narcissist or something like that.
mhm.
Trying to make it her fault, not mine. You're the fucked up one. I'm the victim, right?
Yeah, I used to do that, and it didn't help that I would do it so calmly and then sometimes laugh during the conversation because of how raging she would get.
Yep.
And I had to realize, like, that's fucking not good. Like, I'm living with someone who is defeated.
And you're on
That
the same,
doesn't fucking done. Yeah,
Jesse,
we're
you're on
supposed to be
the
on the
same
same
team.
team.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love the word you use, yoked, because I often tell couples, especially young couples, like you have to be yoked.
It's a biblical thing.
Yeah.
You carry each other's burdens. I
Hmm.
support her. I supported her financially when she was just a bartender. I was in the oil field in Willis, North Dakota, and then I quit my job as a commercial pilot for the National Park Service, federal flying job, making great money. And then she supported us, and I've been a stay-at-home dad the last 2 years. Now I'm going back into the workforce next summer, and she's going to kind of throttle back. So you complement, you support each other, but you need to realize you're on the same team. Like you're on
Hmm.
the same rocket ship, and your job is to raise good, hardworking, productive members of society who don't use fucking pronouns. 100%. It's hard to do though,
Amen.
man. My struggle is like I've always wanted boys. My girls are more masculine than sometimes my son is. He's really emotional, but he can be, and lately it's been a real struggle, but he can be emotional either way. Someone like his sister, they're playing tag and she accidentally kicks him or kicks him on purpose. If your 7-year-old sister kicks you, we had this conversation. If I can't just go punch her in the face because I could kill her with one punch. She's 7. You're 10. You're bigger. You're stronger, and you can't get the red in your eyes and chase her through the playground like you're going to smash her head into the monkey bars.
Hmm.
So he's really flying off the handle sometimes there, and then sometimes like any screw up or any time he's sad, it just tears start pouring out. And I don't get that because I was born like you cry, you're a pussy, to my
Hmm.
dad. So I just didn't cry. Gotten better at crying and stuff and like in front of my wife and different things, but like he's very emotional and it's hard to regulate emotions and stuff like that. He's a good kid, but I struggle with connecting with him. It seems like I connect with my daughters more and I'm harder on the son. I don't know if that's just I'm just soft. I have a soft spot for girls and I'm harder on him, but I'm trying to be a better dad, so I'm not such like using him as a whipping post, as my wife would say, because I was my dad's whipping post, just trying to show
Hmm.
that kid unconditional love and just be his friend and let the little stuff go instead of saying, like you need to do this and you need to do this. Um, this is hard being a parent, dude. Like he owed me $20 for something. I think he lost a post office key or something for school. And like for 3 weeks, I've been telling him, hey, you need to find a job. You need to ask someone for a job so you can make money. And yesterday, like I gave him a job to go pressure wash a tarp with moose blood on it. Came back inside and he's playing. I'm like, did you get the tarp done? No, I didn't get it done because I'm scared to be outside because there's a bear in the neighborhood. And there's been a bear walking around for a couple weeks. Like it's Alaska.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It happens. And I said, well, it's hard. It's hard because he's been lying a lot lately and I'm trying to teach him about trust and stuff. But I also call bullshit when I see it. And I told him like, well, 2 days ago, you were running outside all over by yourself and there was no issue. But now all of a sudden when it's time to
Yeah.
work, there's an issue. And my wife's like, you just need to love the kid. And I'm just like, I'm trying to explain to him my thought process as well. It's like, hey, you weren't scared yesterday, but all of a sudden today, when there's work to be done, this is the fifth or sixth time I've told you, like, here's a job, go get it done. You haven't done it. Like, and I explained to him, I don't care about $20. I pulled out $500 bills in my wallet. I said, I have $500 right here. I don't need your $20. But I said, when you're on the basketball team in 3 years, and one of your teammates lends you $20 for a burger because you forgot your wallet, and then you get back and your best friend says, Chris, where's my money? Chris, where's my money? Chris, where's my money? No one's going to loan you money or talk to you because you're going to be the coward that won't pay people back because it's not important. You can
Hmm.
sit here and tell your dad, I want to pay you. I want to pay you. I want to do what's right. But until you actually show the action, that's the hard part. And it's hard teaching kids that, man. Really hard.
Yeah. No, I it's something I work on with my son is he mows lawns. He makes $20 or $30 depending on how big the lawn is.
A 7-year-old?
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, like so in my household, one of the things that I tell my wife is like when our boys turn 7, they're mine. You don't get to discipline them, and I use the word discipline as disciple. That is where the word discipline comes from, is
Yep.
discipleship. You don't get to discipline them anytime they're not acting correctly. You don't even have to act in the moment. You can say, guess what? When your father gets here, you get to tell him about what happened, or I will, and that's end of the conversation. Our 3-year-old boys, because I think young men need that femininity from their mothers, like
They need the
he
nurturing.
exactly that nurturing, what understanding what a loving mother is and a loving woman, because it's like their first love is their mother, our boy's mother. It's like, go do whatever you would like with that, our 3.5-year-old. But the second that one turns 7, especially him, because he's an intelligent little kid who knows how to push people's buttons. He understands when there's a weak 4-year-old and how he can. He's cool. He has a very aggressive playing style personality as well. He's that little like animal. He's that kid who's already like that dog, like
Got that
he's already
dog in it, right?
he does. He's already wrestling, and just loves it. Just like eats it up. It's to where my older son, he wrestles. He's like, man, this is hard, Dad. This is hard. Football's easy, and it's like, well, we do shit that's hard. But anyways, it's like when they are 7, it's like they're mine, and because I want to be the one 100% who's responsible for them growing into being a man. And um, fuck, I forgot where I was going with one of those things. Oh, and then if my wife disagrees with something I do, it's something that we talk about. Like, she is not allowed to say that in front of our sons. It's like
We
it'll
have
be on our walk. Be on her walk. She'll be like, "Hey, I felt you were too hard at chance at football or at this or like you're," and then I get to explain. Well, he was the one who said that he was going to do this for X or whatever. It's like
yeah,
I'm just holding him accountable because it can just get lost. Like I was a lazy fuck as a kid because my mom protected me. I
yeah.
was a lazy fucker. Now, even and I was really athletic, and I had no drive to do anything because I was trying to go off my talents. I raced motocross, played football. My dad would ask me to do things, and it would get to that point where he would have to fucking yell at me, and then I'd be like, "Fine, I would go out there," because I had my mom to protect me. And it's like I can't have that for my sons because I realize how that messed with me, even in college. It's fucking lazy.
Yeah, and I struggle with that. My kids were raised in a village, with people that had drug and alcohol problems.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have good stewards to like look up to in different things, and so the laziness is. I don't know if that's ingrained. I don't know how you beat that, and I struggle with that with my kids of getting to be motivated and different things like that. Sometimes they surprise me, and the next day they're working hard, and all of a sudden it's like I didn't do any of my schoolwork, and I just screwed off and didn't do my chores, and I'm like, and I just tell them, I say, look, I'm pretty even keel, right? Like I set expectations, they are high, but you know where I expect you to be. If you exceed those expectations, I'm going to tell you I'm really proud of you. Good job. You don't get attaboys for doing what's expected. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't get an attaboy just for making you breakfast. I expect to thank you. Thanks for breakfast, Dad. But I don't get tons of pat on the backs or anything like that because that's my job is to provide for you and cook for your kids and stuff like that. If you don't meet my expectations, you're going to hear from your dad. And if it's really bad, you're going to get grounded. You're going to have to do everyone's chores. And yeah, one of our favorites is the wall sit. So a military buddy of mine flew helicopters in Afghanistan. Wall sit, 90-degree wall sit. 3x5 note card. I will not be disrespectful to my father. And you just read that over and over again. I got my ass whooped. I don't believe in beating my kids, and they're old enough.
Mm.
Spankings aren't really effective. And today's different than when we were growing up. Just plain and simple. Like I got my ass whooped hard. Um, but that one hurts when your legs are quivering and you're reading a note card that says, I will not be disrespectful, or I will not hurt my siblings, or whatever. I will not lie, cheat, and steal at school. Those kind of things that builds some character.
I'm going to steal that one because my go tos is I make my older son run. He runs this giant lap. It's like, just go run. And he'll go and run these laps. Or I'll make him hold a medicine ball up above his head. And
Ooh,
it's like, no bending, all the way up. You hold it. And he's up there shaking and just like, this hurts. And it's like, well, then don't talk to your mother that way, bud. Because, and this is going to be controversial, but like, the second you're fucking 13, 14 and you are disrespectful, your ass is in the backyard with me. Like, and you don't need to be talking to her like that right now. It's 6 or 7 years old. And so have them hold that. But having them read that, I will not be disrespectful to mom. I will not talk back to mom while they're doing a wall sit. I'm adding that that one to it.
that or push-ups, man. Push-ups are a lot, and it's like they don't like being against the wall or doing push-ups. Like,
Mm-hmm.
guys, it's supposed to hurt. You're not supposed to like
Mm-hmm.
this. I'm not going to say, hey, go watch Toy Story 4, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's not going to be a punishment. You're supposed to not like this. When I give my kids the chores, we have a bunch of chores and they're split evenly. I said, hey, you cheated at school today. That's a coward's way out. And you're not a freaking coward, and I'm not going to raise a coward or a Democrat. So
Mm-hmm.
you're doing everyone's chores today. Sorry to all the Democrats who may listen. No offense. But it's hard. And I want my kids to do things out of respect and love
Yeah.
for me. But I will tell you, there is a vast difference when I leave to go on a hunting trip, how those kids act. And probably the same for you. And when you hear those magical words, when your dad gets home, that should cause fear into your child. If it doesn't, you should probably reevaluate your pronouns because
Mm-hmm.
your kid should be slightly terrified when dad gets home. He's going to hear from me, and it's not going to be good. And I get home, hey kids, how are you? Are you good? I said, Chris, you excited to see me? Yeah. And I said, well, guess what? You shouldn't be. And I see my daughters, hey dad, were you good? No. And I said, well, you shouldn't be excited to see me either because guess what? We're going to go have a chat. You can't act this way for your mother. When mom's gone, dude, it's just like when mom's here. And statistically, you and I both know single parent households, incarceration rates of kids that grow up with a father in a single parent household are much, much lower, similar to people with a dual parent household, right? I'm sure you've heard that
Yeah,
stat.
yeah. Oh, I know all about those.
If
Yep.
you just have a dad in your life, mom's MIA, dead, whatever, you're going to be a pretty good person. If you only
Mm-hmm.
have a mom and dad's not there, your levels of being incarcerated, drug addict, being a non productive member of society go up statistically. You could have had a great childhood with just a single mom, and that's great. That's a hard job to put that masculine energy as a mom who's trying to make money and nurture and everything. You can't do it all as a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, as a single dad, you see the statistic, they turn out pretty good because you can still be a little nurturing, but you lay down the law, you lay down expectations as a father. And I see it. When I'm gone on a moose hunt, I tell my kids, be good, make good choices, serve other people. Act like you're grounded when you're serving other people. Do a really good job of your chores. Listen to your mom when it's time to go to bed. Say yes, ma'am, and get your ass in bed. If you don't, you're going to hear from dad, and it's not going to be fun when I get home. And when I get home, I want to
Mm-hmm.
celebrate with pizzas, ice cream, and go to the pool. But if you act like this, we're not going to be able to. And my kids are a little scared of me. And so they've even told my wife, I said, why do you act this way for your mother and not for me? And they said, well, you're scary when you get home and you scream and yell sometimes and make us do wall sits. And I said, kind of look at my wife, and I'm just kind of like, told you so, you know? But you don't want to rule with fear. So you're on this
Yeah.
fine line. You're walking this knife edge of this peak of like, I don't want to rule with fear and be the hard ass and make everything a learning lesson with my kids and always be on their ass. I want them to love me and tickle fight on the ground and make breakfast together and throw food in the kitchen. But they
Mm-hmm.
have to respect me and they have to respect their mother.
Yeah, like you said, there is that fine line, and it's the fucking juggle of that push and pull, because I agree that your children, there should be an aspect of fear to their father. He should be the most dangerous, scariest thing, and then the most loving, gentle thing at the same time, those capabilities. And how we convey that to our children, that's where it's like, that balancing act of conveying it to them.
100%. Yeah, it's a struggle, but I think just self recognition is
Yeah.
too, and a lot of that comes from your wife. When you're being too much of a dick, you know, that's why the whole cheese thing was kind of a big deal for me because she kind of tuned me up. Not that much cheese, and I'm like, I understand it's just about the cheese, and you don't think it's that bad, but I don't want to see. I don't want to get treated that way. Period. Let alone in front of my kids,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
have them think that's a normal relationship. So do that stuff. We'll do that stuff in private, and we'll talk about it. And you can tune me up about being a parent in private, but not in front of our kids. That's a big no.
Yeah. Yeah. Never in front of the kids.
Yeah, they're going to see you fight. They're going to see you disagree,
Hmm.
but don't judge each other or parent each other on how to be a better parent. In front of your kids. Do that stuff
Yeah.
privately.
Exactly. Not disagreeing. You say something and her go, no, 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 they don't. You don't have to do that. We're just things like that. I'm with you.
Yeah,
And Adam, I think that might be a solid spot to end this.
that was a good talk. It's good for me. Most of my
Yeah.
stuff's just about hunting and airplanes, but um, that's so further down the list than when it comes to family. Like family's my number one. And I
Yeah.
tell people like taking your kids hunting is like the coolest thing in the world when you combine both those things. But my kids really aren't into hunting. My son, he's into basketball, dude. He is into basketball like I was into drawing blood, and I wanted to kill anything. You
Hmm.
know, I told my dad one time he didn't like it. I said, if I can't, what did I say? If I can't fly it, fuck it or kill it. I'm not interested, Dad. And still kind of the truth, right? Haven't changed much. I'm still just a little kid. He wants to basketball camp. He wants to shoot layups. He wants to shoot 3-pointers. He wants half court shots. He wants to be Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, you know, and he's not a LeBron fan. I've taught him well. And
Good. Good.
just like that's what he wants. And so I want this kid to be bloodthirsty. But
Hmm.
as a dad, I can't. The 13-year-old daughter wants to go shoot brown bears, and she wants to shoot another one now, and she wants to kill a moose this winter. And you can't make your kids do what you want to do. You can't force your kids to wrestle. You want them to do what they want to do and guide them down their path. But my kids aren't going to be pilots. I'll tell you that right now. They don't have an interest. You know, and so I'm
Hmm.
going to support them what they want to do, and that's difficult. But
Yeah. My older son, so far, he seems to like everything. So it makes me wonder, like, okay, you can't just like everything, bud. Because I took him on a hunt last year, and I'm taking him on a hunt the first week of November. I have a giant calendar up there, which is why I'm looking up. Um, a mule deer hunt in the rut. It'll be either really fucking cold and snowing, or it'll be just chilly, cold, and pretty awesome. And he's excited, but he doesn't always. He's not at the point where he's like always asking to go hunting. He hears me talk about a hunt, and he's like, "I want to go. I want to go."
I'm not even there
Um,
yet. I'm not even
yeah,
to that point. And are you the same way as me where you want them? I kind of want I don't want my kids to beg, but I want to say, Dad, I want to go. Dad, I want to go. Dad,
yeah.
when are we going to go hunting? Like my 7-year-old daughter, she's a little bit more into it. When are we going to go shoot some ducks? Do you want your kids to? I want them to show some drive, some effort to go.
Same here, because my son, he's in golf, gymnastics, football, wrestling, and he just says he likes it all. And it's like, but what do you love? Right? He says he loves football and he wants to practice a lot of football, but it's the most recent thing because I didn't get him into football. I didn't want to live vicariously through my son in anything.
Same. Yep.
So he found football by going to play basketball and saw kids playing football this year in 2024. That's how he discovered football, because I don't watch football either.
Neither do
And
I.
he was like, I want to play football. And it's like, fuck, I spent a lot of years playing football, bud. Okay. But he says he likes everything to where it makes me wonder, like, well, what does he actually really love and like really want to be like, I'm fucking hungry for this. But like when I do tell him I'm hunting, he's like, can I go? Is this a hunt I get to go on? Because I don't take him on any of my archery hunts. Um, Not yet, but I'll go with a buddy on his muzzle loader and take him, and I'll
Yeah.
hike him around. He'll hike, and then if I see him starting to get weak or like a little slow, I'll throw him on my pack and hike him, and then toss him off maybe a mile later. Uh, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see in a couple more years what he just is obsessed with.
Yeah, it's hard because my kids, like, they're down to do anything. They're like, hey, let's roll, And I'm like, hey, do you want to go to the pool? Yeah, yeah, let's go. Do you want to go to the store to get a candy bar? Yeah, yeah, let's go. Do you want to go look for moose sheds in the airplane? Yeah, yeah, let's go. It's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
And one time, this may make me a dick, but like we were supposed to go on a caribou hunt. I'll end with this story. My son, his best friend, and his son's dad. And I just didn't feel like he was into it. And I just said, and I told him a little bit of a lie. I just said, hey, you got a choice to make. And it's hard because we want to do everything, Chris. But I said, you got a choice. There's a pool party tonight with pizza, or there's a caribou hunt. Before I could even get caribou hunt out of my mouth, he said party. Like, he didn't even let me say, hey, we can still do that. He was so 100% balls to the wall for the caribou hunt, wanted to go. And I said, okay, you answer my question. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, there actually wasn't a pool party. I'm going to take your sister because she's been asking me to go caribou hunting. She wants to go, but this was kind of your trip with your friend. But she's been saying, Dad, I want to get a caribou. And I said, why? And she's like, because I want to eat the thing. That's what she said. Daddy, I want to eat it. And so I'm like, I kind of have to take her, dude. And he was sad. And I said, I wasn't trying to trick you. I want to see where your heart's at. And his heart's not in it. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
well, I want to take someone who wants it bad. And if you don't
Yeah.
want it, I'll go out and do it myself. This is me. I'm not going to force you to play basketball or force you to hunt, but I want them to want it.